If you're just joining us, we're talking about web security essentials. And as a part of that, we're going to be talking about the infrastructure of a web application or a website. And this is all a part of the lecture notes that are available through the web security essentials room inside of TryHackMe's web security monitoring module. Now, when you visit a website, the browser sends a request to a web server. The server processes the request, verifies the access, and returns a response to the user. The response can be a web page, or an image, or data like search results, or your account information, or even a video. So if you're watching this video, the web servers from YouTube responded to your request and they delivered this video to you. They served this video to you, and now you're watching this video, right? So this request response cycle is the foundation of how the web functions. Attackers can abuse this request response cycle by overwhelming servers with requests, bypassing access controls, or even tricking the server into executing harmful commands. The components of a web service are as follows. So think about tryhackme.com, okay, the website that I'm on right now, and I'm using their data, their lecture materials to provide this information to you. There are three different components of this kind of interaction. You have the application, the web server, and the host machine. The application would be the code, the images, styles, and icons that dictate how the website looks and functions. So in this particular case, this word application is in bold. The color is white, right? And then I'm on this web application that if I hover over this, you see like the kind of the size of this changes, and then there's also this little button that says I can share this task. That's available to me. If I go down here, there's an image that's served to me, etc. So, and then these are hyperlinks. These are things that I can actually click on to open in a different browser or in a different tab. All of these are application elements. This is the code, images, styles, etc. that make the interaction with the TryHackMe server possible. Now, the web server is the actual section, the data, we can say, or the database, the computer. Really, essentially, a server is just this massive computer. It's like a very powerful computer. And this sits on, I think, TryHackMe uses AWS, I want to say. So they use AWS cloud infrastructure as their physical servers, and then they host their web application, the TryHackMe website. They host it on the web server that's available through AWS, but whoever, like let's say it's an on-site server that they own. I actually just bought a server that I'm going to be installing. It's right here. Or no, this is just the drive itself. So there's something called a multi-bay node that you can actually have. I'm kind of just flexing right now because I have obviously so much video footage that I need to go ahead and store, and I need really, really good cold storage. And I'm trying to get you the one that I'm looking at because there's this like really, really cool multi-bay Docker kind of an environment that I'm purchasing. And then from there, I'm going to have, oh, this is what it's called. It's called the SendMate 5 enclosure. I don't know why this won't allow me to zoom into it. But basically, it looks like this. So it looks like this tower. And each one of these have individual hard drives that you can put on there. So you can technically put, let's say, 12 terabyte hard drive on each one of those. And then you can have, decaterabytes. I don't know what the pronunciation of that is, but it's like you can have hundreds of terabytes of storage for, let's say, $400 or $500, right? Really, really crazy. So you can actually have your own server, your own massive server that would sit on top of your desk. And then from there, you can go ahead and connect to it via the internet and pull data from it. So you can actually have your own servers. Then you can also borrow servers by renting them from AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, DigitalOcean, so many different places. And then that is essentially where the application will be hosted. The application, the website, all of the web pages, all of the images, all of the databases of the users, all of that stuff is going to be sitting on this server. So this server listens for requests and returns a response to the user. And the user will interact with that service or that server through their machine. The underlying operating system Linux that runs the web server and the application, or actually, you know what? So the host machine in this case is actually the operating system that runs the web server and the application. So that's very true. So in this particular case, tryhackme.com, this is the server that they're connected to that actually houses everything. But then that server needs to have some kind of an operating system through which we as users will interact with it. So when I click on something, right? So if I clicked on this, for example, this would actually be a link, the hyperlink of this, the source code behind this will actually be loaded in the background, and then I'll be able to actually go ahead and load the website. And that is me interacting with the operating system that is inside of the server for TryHackMe's website. And so it could be Linux, it could be Windows. In most cases, if it's for a website, it's actually a Linux operating system. It's very rare that it'll be a Windows operating system that will house a website, unless it's a specific domain inside of a company and they have their everything sitting on Active Directory, and they use Windows servers as their integration between Active Directory so that all their employees can access the data and the files and everything that they need. But when it comes down to websites, more often than not, it's a Linux operating system that is the host machine that is sitting on top of this web server, and that's the system that we interact with as users. So this is what it looks like. Your web browser right now, if you're on your phone, your YouTube application is the web browser. If you're on your computer, then your computer is your web browser, right? It has you're probably on Firefox or Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, one of those, like maybe on Brave browser, something, right? You're on some kind of a web browser. So you open up the web page, you go to the actual domain, youtube.com, you log in, right? Maybe you're not logged in and you're just watching this as a guest user. That's possible too. So when this happens, that request, you're sending a request from your web browser to the internet, okay? The internet then will forward this request to the Apache web server. So we've done a lot of different communications where we do kind of like an ARP response or an ARP query, where we'll just try to see how many hops it takes for my request to go from my computer to the web server for YouTube, let's say. So it's like it'll leave my router, that's one hop. It'll leave my router, it'll go to the next router. Then from that router, it'll go to the next router, and then it'll go to the router of my internet service provider. So let's say it's Spectrum, AT&T, Cox, whatever it is, right? The router of the internet service provider will then send it again, and it'll send it again, and then it'll end up in the router of the web server. And then it'll go from the router of the web server to the actual web server. And then the web server will go ahead and use, let's say, a Linux machine, a Linux operating system, to process my request, which is I'm trying to get to the login page. So it'll say, hey, send the login page from whatever the web application itself is, send it to this user. So then you'll end up getting a response from the web application, which will go through the web server, the internet, and it'll come back to my machine. And this happens in a span of like a few seconds, okay? It's actually really amazing when you think about what's happening behind the scenes and how many steps are being completed for you to be able to load a website in a couple of seconds. This used to take minutes, you know what I mean, in the old ages of the internet, and then before that was available, before DSL was available. I'm super dating myself right here, but before DSL was available, we used to have to get broadband internet, which was done through America Online and like a variety of different things, where it would connect to your freaking phone line. And from your phone line, it would go ahead and pull data. So we've come a very, very long way to where we are right now. And then you can just watch something in a matter of a second. You know what I mean? It's really, really insane when you think about it. But this is the interaction that takes place behind the scenes. Now, here's the key, right? Here's what you need to fully understand. From your request to the internet, this is one section that can be hacked. From the internet to the Apache server, this is another section. From the server to the web application in PHP, that's another section. And then the communication back to it, that's another one, that's another one, that's another one. So in transit, a hack can take place. But then there's also your machine that can be hacked. technically the routers of internet service providers can be hacked. The Apache web server can be hacked. The web application can be hacked. All of these things, there's so many different attack vectors that can be exploited for an attacker to take advantage of the situation and hack you. So there's a lot that can be done, and as a result, there's a lot that we need to secure and we need to understand. So we're going to be talking about, in the next section, we're going to look at the security measures available to protect these three components. So let's talk about web servers. When you visit a website, the web browser sends a request to the server, as you just saw. The server listens for incoming requests and returns an appropriate response. They are positioned in front of websites and applications, making them a crucial aspect of the internet's foundation. Because they're publicly exposed and handle all incoming web requests, web servers are a common target for attackers. So there are some of the most common web servers that you'll encounter. Apache is the most popular one. Nginx is another one. And then there's the Internet Information Services, also known as IIS. So Apache, the most popular web server to host simple websites and blogs. Most commonly, WordPress is hosted on Apache. Nginx is an industry standard for high-performance web apps used by companies like Netflix, Airbnb, and GitHub, and everything else in those lines. Internet Information Services, Microsoft-developed web server, commonly used in enterprise environments for companies specifically to interact internally, not necessarily for users to be able to get access to a website, not necessarily like that. So it's like for companies that have millions of users, it's typically Nginx. For people that have individual blogs or something like that, it's typically Apache, things like that. And then the IIS, Internet Information Services, is usually for enterprise environments internally to be able to communicate and interact with each other, and the users can pull data and share files, things like that. So what does your web browser send to a server to receive a web page? It sends a request, right? You're requesting data, you're requesting access, and then you can also send data via the request. So it can be a GET request that would retrieve the access. A POST request would send data to the server. And then there are other types of requests as well, but most interactions are done via a GET request or a POST request. And that's what's done back and forth between your browser and the server. And then the server will then send that request to the web application, which will then serve that data to you. What web server is most commonly used to host WordPress websites? And that is Apache. What do we call the operating system and environment that runs the web server and application? The operating system and environment that runs the web server and application. So this is, what is it? It is the host machine. There you go. So the host machine is known as the operating system and environment that runs the web server and the application. So now that we understand this, let's talk about protecting the web.